Alright, welcome back for another replay cast. A little bit behind schedule because I had some company in town, but I'm going to be catching up with my posts here. So, playing as the Warriors of Chaos again. We got Sarthorael, the Everwatcher, as our Lord. Marauders in front, 3 squads here. Marauders with spears from Tzeentch, Mirror Guard, and some Chaos Warriors with halberds. And then over on the other flank, going towards point 1, I've got Marauders of Tzeentch with spears, another squad of Chaos Warriors with halberds, and Aspiring Champions. These guys will give some leadership buff and some more elite infantry presence over on the side point. So for my opponent, playing as Kislev, he's coming in with an expensive early build. So he's got, who's his lord? Kostaltyn as his lord. He's got the Frozen Heart of Winter, so this huge elemental bear. Man, this thing, I'm pretty sure costs a lot of resources. Patriarch, double Snow Leopard, and looks like double armored Kossars with great weapons. So, I'll speed up the approach. Alright, so right now, like I said, I got 1 squad of infantry going over to point 1. The rest are going to be going towards point 2. Got Sarthorael floating around, just getting an eye on what my opponent is doing, what he's got in the woods. I wasn't sure if he had more infantry presence because I didn't quite see the snow leopards on the approach. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my guys, and that's basically that. So you see I've got Marauders posting up on the back side of the tree line. I didn't want them to run in here and just give the elemental bear free damage. So I'm going to be moving in my spear units up front. So Marauders of Tzeentch with spears over here, and Chaos Warriors with halberds over here. These guys are taking their time coming in. Got a little bit less speed because of the heavy armor. So 35 on the Marauders of Tzeentch and 28 on the, Chaos Warriors with halberds. So 20% less speed. It's actually pretty significant. Either way, these guys are on the approach. A lot of large targets in here. So Frost Maiden on a bear, Snow Leopards, Patriarchs on a bear, Kostaltyn is on foot. Elemental bears here. So these guys are getting shot up on the approach, but I'm not too worried about that. Just want to put some pressure on their large entities. So Sarthorael I got to be careful with because I actually don't know how good of a combatant he is. I didn't get a great sense of it throughout this match. A lot of just flying around, casting, and things like that. So I brought Searing Doom and Glittering Robe. Glittering Robe because the, Kislev's squad usually is going to have some good firepower, and I figured I could use that to kind of deal with that. And then the Searing Doom just because it's an ability that I don't see too often. I haven't really used much myself, so I wanted to play around with that. So again, Chaos Warriors with the halberds getting in the mix. The elemental bears are going to be jumping on top of them. Marauders coming over here to attack their armored Kossars. Sarthorael backing up because I saw Snow Leopard coming in. I don't want him to be taking a bunch of damage for no reason. Now that he's disengaged from the bear area, he's going to take a couple shots at the Snow Leopard and wait until my shield gets a little bit lower and then pull back out. Marauders coming in, Mirror Guard coming in to support the Marauders of Tzeentch, who actually already got pushed off. I'm not sure if they all got killed or if they ran off the field. I'm pretty sure they might have just all got killed there. So Mirror Guard have pretty amazing stats overall. They're going to be able to fight and just hold ground for a while. And I wanted to get Sarthorael around them because he gives them a buff of, let's see, what is it? Plus 10 melee defense, which is pretty good. And outside of that, on the side point, we had a group of armored Kossars with great weapons. My Marauders of Tzeentch and my Aspiring Champions are clashing into them. They got some Streltsy coming to support. And that's basically most of what's going on. I did send a squad of Marauders over here to grab this point. They sent us some Winged Lancers and jumped on top of them, so I ended up countering with some Chaos Warhounds with poison. And then I also brought in the Summoners of Rage. So these guys are Dragon Ogres, and they're Regiments of Renown, so they're going to do really well against this type of unit. They don't have great armor, so I got to watch out for the shooting. But Trolls coming on as well, Chaos Trolls with armor. I brought the armored variant because of the Kislev shooting. I figured they'd be able to help against these Patriarchs and some of these large enemies over here. And so they're jumping in to support the Mirror Guard. Pretty good combination of units here, Trolls and Mirror Guard. The trolls will not get buffed by them. I believe they only provide their melee defense buff for lords and heroes. Yep. So my opponent has got some kind of, I'm not sure what spell that was coming down. Where is their, I gotta find their caster. So Frost Maiden of Tempest. So she used Hailstorm on them. So it looks like it's very similar to Searing Doom. In fact, I think the range damage and the explosive damage is basically the exact same proportions. 33% range damage and 100% explosive. So interesting thing there. Winged Lancers over here charging into the Marauders. Ideally, I pull the Marauders of Zintra's Spears off onto the flank, and then I run these Marauders in to deal with the Armored Kossars. But that's not what's happening, so these guys took a big charge, they're getting shot at too. And Aspiring Champions are going to deal well against the Armored Kossars. Probably not the best trade since these guys have decent armor of their own. They also have armor piercing, whereas the Aspiring Champions are not armor piercing. Although, as I'm saying that, I don't know exactly what the magical attacks do. So maybe magical attacks ignore armor or something like that. I'm not quite sure. So Searing Doom coming from me onto the Armored Kossars. Sarthorael charging over there. I'm trying to keep him in safe positions. Again, because I wasn't sure and quite confident in what his combat stats were like, I was trying to keep him away from the bear, keep him away from Kostaltyn. And so you'll see him pull out of here eventually. Marauders are on the run. Got some Warhounds coming around the flank to get on top of these Streltsy, but unfortunately for me, the Winged Lancers are looping around as well. So I've got control of point 1 and 3. My opponent has not been able to wrangle 3 for me. He did take point 2. Again, he's got a lot of large presence and whatnot in here, so hasn't been able to take the capture weight back. He's kind of pushed me off the capture point region. Marauders over here getting dealt with. Frost Maiden, looks like there's a Patriarch in there as well. Supporting some Armored Kossars, so basically that. The Summoners of Rage were able to chase off the Winged Lancers over on this side with the help of the Chaos Warhounds, and now they're charging in, trying to get in the mix in the middle. Ideally, I want to get these guys on top of the Heart of the Winter. So right now they're caught up on a Snow Leopard. I figure they'd probably deal okay with him. They are taking some shots from the back, but not too worried about that at the time. You can see with the Streltsy shooting and the Winged Lancers cycle charging, I'm having some trouble over here on point 1. These guys are going to do well against the Aspiring Champions because they'll shoot through some of that armor. The Silver Shields are really helping, especially since I think these guys are kind of facing the right direction. But it's going to be a tough situation for them. And let's see what else is going on here. So, Cost Fight Dervishes going over towards point 3, trying to take that away from me. The Marauders are not going to deal well with the charge, but luckily they were braced, so that's going to help. Sarthorael, the Everwatcher, jumping on top of the Patriarch. He's got some room over here to work because he's got armor trolls and some Chaos Warhounds with poison, and the Bear and Kostaltyn and any other troops are not really over to support this Patriarch. So getting a little jump on a character there. You can see the Frozen Heart of Winter, Snow Leopard, Kostaltyn, Frost Maiden of Tempest. He's kind of got a goon squad of high value units charging around together. And so right now what I'm thinking is, and I kind of had this thought towards the beginning of the matchup too, as soon as I saw what was going on around point 2 with all these single entities, I was thinking, okay, I need to bring in Summoners of Rage, I need to bring in Trolls, I need to bring in damage dealers that are going to fight well against single entities and can put some damage out on them. I don't need to focus too much on capture rate and whatnot. I already knew that I was going to be controlling the flanks in the beginning, and I am losing point 1 at this point. But, you know, a little bit behind the gold value, but that's kind of where I was at. And I've done basically no damage to Kostaltyn. Luckily, Sarthorael with his regenerating shield has been able to kind of float around and regen and then take engagements and regen some more. Warhound's jumping on top of the Dervishes over here, so going to be the saving grace of these Marauders. Luckily for me, these guys have been holding pretty well as far as their leadership. I was surprised that they did not run a couple times over on point 3. Let's see what else we've got coming in here. So Kossars with spears, getting some shots off. You can see they've not lost any models, but they've taken a pretty good amount of HP damage. I can drop a Searing Doom on them. That's most of what I was casting throughout this match. Looks like a Hailstorm from my opponent. Luckily for me, it's not going to do too much damage. So usually this type of spell is going to be better against a infantry blob, and I've got Chaos Trolls that are armored, Chaos Spawn, Summoners of Rage, and Chaos Warriors of Halberds. So most of those troops are not going to take too much damage from that. Usually what you're hoping for with these kind of bombardments is splash damage, explosive damage that's going to spread out throughout the infantry or tightly compact. So when you have large model troops, it's usually not as effective. The Frozen Heart of Winter is still at a massive amount of health. I don't know if this thing has regen or if I'm just not putting damage into it. Yeah, it looks like I'm just not damaging it. So terror-causing monster is going to be tough for my army to deal with. It's chased off a lot of my infantry, I think, and a lot of unsummoning to be done on my part. So Sarthorael came in here, charged on top of the Snow Leopard and dealt with him. One-on-one against Kostaltyn. Luckily, Sarthorael's large and he's got some good speed, so if I need to get out of here, I can run. Unfortunately, he's got some armored Kossars that are getting some shots in, so Sarthorael's not liking that. Luckily, the woods are kind of blocking some of the shots, if you can't tell from the visuals or just from understanding the game mechanics in general, but he's going to be getting out of here, flying away, and trying to preserve himself. So we got Warhounds in the back, charging in, get on top of the Maiden. She's going to run off, scared of them, and more Chaos Warriors with Halberds, and some recharging Chaos Trolls who had originally fled. Now again, terror-causing monsters, I might have mentioned this before, is going to cause a lot of units to run away. And so because the Frozen Heart of Winter has terror, trolls, which are generally low leadership troops, are going to be running away a lot of times once they take some short HP damage. Even if they've got some allies in the area, that's what's oftentimes going to be going on. So Summoners of Rage are on the run, unfortunately not able to put too much damage out on the Frozen Heart of Winter. Hailstorm coming down and crushing those Warhounds. Looks like the Frostmaiden of Tempest stopped running away. Mirrorguard looking to jump on top of Kostaltyn. He is infantry size, so they'll do all right against him. And then Sarthorael working with the Chaos Warhounds, just trying to chase down Snow Leopard and reprioritizing at that point. Point 3 still under my control, point 1 still under my opponent's control, and looks like they had chased off some of my troops that I tried to send over to reinforce. So armored Kossars with great weapons, Streltsy, Wing Lancers and whatnot, not going to be something I can probably wrestle away in the near future. Luckily, I am ahead in victory points slightly, and I'm barely ahead in gold value. Hailstorm coming down on the Mirrorguard. These guys have some extra physical resist, but not magic resist, so they took a decent amount of damage from that. Kostaltyn also has magic damage and fire attacks, plus the armor piercing, so he's going to deal decently against these guys, but not really a situation he wants to be in when he's surrounded like this. Sarthorael, on the other hand, flying around, regenerating his shield, and kind of actually doing a pretty good amount of work over here. I think having the trolls and the Chaos Warriors with Halberds on top of this guy and him not able to charge his way out, I'm not sure if that's a lack of micro on my opponent or if he's just too surrounded by mass from the trolls and whatnot. I guess he could probably spam right click to get out of this, but this thing's going down. Frozen Heart of Winter is going to be dead soon, and Sarthorael's getting in there as well to deal some damage. So there he goes. So finally got that large enemy off the field. My opponent has a pretty good amount of supplies to use for reinforcements. At this point, I'm starting to think, okay, I need to make sure I'm locking down these territories because I was just able to recently take over point 2. Their lord is bound up over here in the Mirrorguard. I'm just not going to be able to take point 1. I don't think it's feasible at this point. And so I'm just trying to get more guys, more mass and whatnot onto points 2 and 3. So you can see I've got some Marauders, those ancient spears on the way. More Marauders coming over here. Standard Marauders. A couple units that'll be needing to be unsummoned, I should say. Sarthorael is actually taking a pretty good amount of damage. These Ice Guard with Glaives are, man, they're nasty. Their range fire is pretty powerful. Luckily, again, we're in a wooded area, and I'm jumping on top of them with some Chaos Warhounds just to shut down their shooting. My opponent did use the Gust of True Flight, so gave them some increased accuracy, which I'm assuming helps in the woods. Although maybe accuracy in the woods doesn't really, maybe it's like a less effective use of the spell, I don't know. But I mean, he's got to wrestle me for points 2 and 3 anyways because I'm ahead in the victory points. And at this point, my opponent just does not have the amount of troops on the field that he needs to to take this stuff from me. So I've got a pretty good squad over here. So Chaos Warriors with halberds, although they're not going to be great against Zargard, they've got armor piercing values, and they've got Sarthorael in the mix helping them out. Got a full health squad of Chaos Trolls that are armored. He doesn't really have much anti-large over here. He's got a Snow Leopard, but I think it's pretty beat up, and it's in the mix of Chaos Warriors with halberds. I got Warhounds charging in the rear. I got more Marauders on the way to support. These Spearmen are going to help out these Warhounds. Kind of just jumped on top of the Wing Lancers to slow them down in case they try to run away from the Spearmen. But he doesn't have a choice other than to fight on the points because of the victory point situation. So I'm going to fast forward to the end. This game is over, and I think my guy plays through till the end of it. So we'll just reach the point cap, and that's basically it. So anyways, well played to my opponent. Let's take a quick look at the points there. So Sarthorael with about 2,000. Aspiring Champions got 840. Not too bad, especially since they weren't fighting with my main force. Mirror Guard got a ridiculous amount of points. Man, yeah, they really put in a lot of work. I think most of this was from them fighting Kostaltyn. I think my opponent kind of lost track of their lord at the end there because he was fighting these guys and was just not getting out. I don't know if he tried to spam click out or do anything to get him out of there, but they earned their worth. Chaos Warriors with halberds both got pretty good payouts. Marauders with spears that are right. Standard Marauders that are right. Summoners of Rage earned their value. Chaos Spawn did as well. The Armor Trolls did alright. Warhounds did pretty well. So pretty balanced performance. Had a couple troops that did pretty well. For my opponent, Kostaltyn didn't do great. His Patriarch didn't do great. Frozen Heart of Winter, I'm going to go ahead and assume this guy costs a little bit more than that, 2,200. Still pretty good damage value, but I'm assuming he costs a little bit more than that. I would guess like 2,500. And I played as Kislev for a little bit when I first started this game, but I can't remember too much about the roster. Armored Kossars with great weapons that are right. Snow Leopards that are right. I think the Snow Leopards paid for themselves. He might have resummoned them, so potentially not. I was able to shut down the Ice Guard with Glaives, so they didn't get their value. Frost Maiden did good. Wing Lancers definitely did good. Dervishes, not so much. Streltsy, alright. So yeah, pretty interesting matchup. I was definitely trying to keep to the wooded areas as I could and stay away from his shooting, so he honestly didn't bring a lot of firepower anyways. He had more single entity monsters and cavalry than I was expecting, but either way, well played to my opponent. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.